Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is Monday, the 18th of October, 2021. And these are the stories that will be under discussion during the course of the show. We will begin with the procession of the Tehreek-e-Kashmir, United Kingdom, that happened on Sunday. That was anti-India and pro-Kashmir freedom fighters. And of course, this happened outside the consulate in Birmingham, Indian consulate. And there, of course, they talked about what is happening in India as far as the minorities are concerned, especially the Muslims, and they talked about Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well. This is a burning issue that the world needs to tackle and to handle at the earliest possible before it goes out of hand, because not only is there an increase in brutalities in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, but also an increase in brutalities against the minorities in India, especially the Muslims. This is going to be our leading segment of the day. Then our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Afghanistan and of course the recent spate of incidents that has happened in that country, which has been claimed by the IS Khorasan. Now, Daesh is one group that needs to be taken, of course, vigilantly and in the quickest manner by the powers that be within Afghanistan, and also in collaboration with all the other countries that are friendly to Afghanistan, in order to curtail the incursion of this terrorist group that calls itself the IS Khorasan, because there are a continued number of incidents that are being attributed to it. Now, our third segment, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be on Eid Miladun-Nabi. This is going to be held across the world tomorrow. Faithfuls across the globe are going to celebrate this joyous occasion to celebrate the birth of the last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We'll give you a little insight into what is happening tomorrow. And then we will be talking about the Noon Academy, which is an international EdTech startup. Ladies and gentlemen, this academy that started last year now has apparently more than 1.5 million Pakistani children that are learning different classes. And the best thing about it, that it is all free. It is all through apps on Android or on iOS, or also on the web. You can log in, you can create an account, and then you can go and study the different classes and the different subjects that are available. It is gaining extreme popularity, and it started in Saudi Arabia. This is going to be our next segment. And then finally, we will talk about Iran, that is to resume nuclear talks with the P1+4, that is the European countries that are involved in this nuclear pact, JCPOA. Of course, the US for the moment is not included. Nevertheless, these talks are to be held this week, and this seems to be a very positive development as far as the future of Iran's nuclear program is concerned, and that nuclear deal that was stalled because of Donald Trump. Let's begin with our first story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the continued protests that are occurring across the world against the brutalities that are happening in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the latest of these protests happened yesterday in Birmingham in front of the Indian consulate, and this was, of course, led by the Tehreek-e-Kashmir, United Kingdom. And hundreds of Kashmiris and, of course, Pakistani and global human rights activists attended this protest to express solidarity with the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, this is a region that is besieged. This is a region that is being subject to torture and brutalities by the Indian forces, especially since 2019, when they scrapped the Articles 370 and 35A. To talk more about this, we've been joined by Dr. Asif. He's a Kashmiri activist. He joins us from Belgium. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, is the movement against what is happening in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and also what is happening to Muslims in India, gaining momentum in Europe?
To be honest, this is for the first time in last 20 years that the movement is gaining momentum. And thanks to the Prime Minister of Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Imran Khan himself, who led it from the front and put the Kashmir narrative in front of the world. Now it's throughout the world that the atrocities being committed in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are being raised from east to west, from Australia, UK, United States, the recent one being the Birmingham yesterday in the UK. And it's coming to the fore. But the most important thing is that we need to convey to the world that right now, it's not Myanmar, it's not Palestine, it's none other than the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where the brutalities are at its worst. From using chemical weapons to burn down our houses, then to down the rebels' bodies, then to catch civilians and do fake encounters, and then to label them as rebels is nothing but is the brazenness which the India is committing the human rights violation. But Alhamdulillah, the world is getting to notice, and very recently there was one more thing. The Middle East and the Arab world
They
is
have also
filled with.
started to boycott the products that are made in India.
Yes, this is the boycott. BDS is starting to gain the momentum throughout the world, and there are a lot of areas where the Kashmiri diaspora, the Pakistani diaspora, are coming together, and the Muslim world throughout the world is trying to put up the pressure to recognize the atrocities being committed by the Indian government, this fascist government, over the Muslims of Jammu and Kashmir, as well as the Indian Muslims. The way they have been lynching and killing the Indian Muslims throughout India, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and then you have recently seen the dead bodies of Muslims being decimated by the Indian paramilitary forces in Assam. These are
In fact, it was the
adding fuel
incident
to
in
the fire.
Assam and the other incidents that followed that led to the OIC also strongly lashing out at India over these brutalities on the Muslims inside of India. What now, Dr. Saab, what should happen now? How to exert that necessary pressure? It has begun in Europe, as you said, after 20 years, you've had such a protest in Birmingham. But do you feel this is enough or more needs to be done so that the United Kingdom or the European Union then pressurizes India on their turn in order for them to stop these brutalities?
I think it's a very uphill task. A lot more needs to be done, and especially a well begun is half done. But now a lot of work needs to be done. The most important thing is that the West has been talking about human rights, human rights, human rights all the time. But now it's the time for the West to deliver. It's the time to sanction India about its atrocities, the racism, the communalism. It is brazen in India. I mean, it's the push we have to give. We have to build on the Western countries to look at their economic ties, to look at their military ties with India, and they have to work. We have to work towards it to put this into the public forum. We have to involve the public, maybe not the governments per se, but definitely the public of the Western countries, where we need to put our
All right.
perspective. Eh, that's how we are going to go about it.
All right. Now, moving forward, what do you feel, Dr. Asif Dar? Uh, has your protest been registered by the British Parliament or the British parliamentarians who can now take this up in the British Parliament and at the level of the European Union as well, because you are in Belgium? We've had different kind of protests within the European Union as well, and there have been certain resolutions that have been passed by the EU Parliament as well. But nothing tangible has happened as far as action is concerned. Why is that? That there are a lot of papers that are written, a lot of articles that are written, a lot of resolutions that are passed, but they are never, translated into some kind of action.
To be honest, the economic interests seem to be taking the front stage. Everyone, the best thing is that everyone in the European society has started to recognize that India is being governed by a fascist regime. But right now, the problem is the economic stage. Everybody is looking at India as one of the world's biggest markets. So this is probably the area where which comes to the politicians. That's why it's not compounding into a proper perspective. So the problem is that everybody is looking at their economic interest before they take action against India. One of the best things is that the people in the West have started recognizing that India is a pure fascist and communal country right now.
All right. Now, Dr. Saab, also, do you feel within India there could be a rise in those sane voices that could keep a pressure on the Indian government? Because we see more and more lynchings and more brutalities against the minorities, especially the Muslims within India and in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Can't these people rise from within India in order to curtail these activities or pressurize the government to stop or to put a pause on these?
Actually, the government of India has taken a leaflet from the Hitler's book right away. Whosoever tries to open the mouth, irrespective of his religious belonging, he is being put into jail. So everything, and the majority is being fed the Muslim hatred. So if you tell me which is the world's biggest Islamophobic country, it is not in West. It is just in the east of Pakistan, and it is India. So whenever a sane voice from a non-Muslim arena tries to come up and speak up against these atrocities, the Indian government lashes him into the jail. And this is happening in Mumbai. This is even happening in the heart of Delhi. I mean, everywhere in the capital, they are pushing it's a very crude power being used on the streets of India.
All right. Also, Dr. Saab, there have been recent articles that have come in the international media, whether it be the Washington Post or whether it be Time, which talk about these brutalities that India is putting its people and its minorities through. The Time talks about an anti-Muslim genocide that India is heading towards, whereas the Washington Post talks about two different boys and two different ways of dealing with them. One is the son of a BJP leader, the other is the son of an Indian Muslim actor, and how both of these cases are dealt with in a very different manner. So don't you feel that there is a huge polarity that has come to be within India as far as its Hindu population and the other different sects or the different religions are concerned?
I think although the Time and the New York Times have waken up, but they are still late. The worst case scenario, I would add here to your comment, that the worst case scenario has been of a Dalit girl who was raped by a Brahmin Hindu, and then killed, and then the body was burned in the middle of the night, not by the Brahmin guy, but by the Yogi Adityanath, the his paramilitary forces, the chief minister of India's biggest state, on the orders of him and Modi. So you can see where India is heading towards. I mean, the society is totally fragmented right now in India. If you can see the treatment of the farmers, who are majority of whom are Sikhs from Punjab, they are being recently they were killed by this son, which has been mentioned in this story.
By Ashish Mishra, sir, who is the son of Junior Home Minister Ajay Mishra.
Absolutely. So you can see the communal hatred, the division, the fragmentation, all by this Hindutva fascist regime. That society seems to be fragmented. It's only a matter of time where India seems to be going towards disintegration. This is what I can look from here.
All right, Dr. Saab, I also talked to one of the Sikh community members from India a couple of days back, and he said that there is rising indifference or revolt against the current Indian government of the BJP, and that in the next elections it is highly likely that they might not get the necessary vote. What is your opinion on that?
Probably, now you look at the scenario, I'll tell you. When they will reproduce a fake encounter, they will start killing their own soldiers and then try to blame Pakistan for this. And probably right now the biggest state of India is going for elections, UP, and you have seen the increase in violence in Jammu and Kashmir to sell it to the people of India. So what I'm trying to tell you, whenever the BJP feels like they are having the pressure, they cannot, the economy is disastrous, they have not given jobs to the society remains fragmented, they have done nothing, absolutely nothing. The best thing to sell to the people is patriotism. Whenever they will feel like that they are going to lose the election, they will create something up to produce a new wave of patriotism. to tell the people of India it is BJP who is going to save you from Pakistan or China. Probably they have taken this time, this has gone too far and they are paying for it. I think he's talking about the elections. They may or may not win, but I'm worried probably that India might not sustain another 5-10 years of this brute regime.
What do you foresee as far as India is concerned, looking at the spate of brutalities that are being, that are being given to all the different minority sects across India and in the different provinces? We've talked in detail about that in Assam, in different areas, in Bengal, in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and the list goes on and on. Do you feel either that this BJP government is going to succeed in its endeavors, or do you feel it's going to give rise to such a strong opposition that will thwart all the attempts of the BJP? What is your point of view as somebody who looks at all of this from an exterior?
The most important thing, let's not forget that only 33% of the Indians have voted for the BJP to power. So there are another 70% population which have not voted for BJP. The point right now is not about the voting. That India has gone beyond that majoritarian democracy. India is an autocracy at its worst. The problem right now is people might be looking at losing of BJP, but what I can see from external side that it is not BJP which is losing. It's probably India losing in last 70 years since its birth. The whole of India is losing, its democracy is losing, the population has been fragmented, it has been divided between the Muslims and the Hindus, between the Sikhs and the Hindus, between the northern Hindus as well as the southern Hindus. Everything in India seems to be disintegrating and disintegrating.
All right. Dr. Asif Dar, thank you very much. India is becoming a huge polarized state, and of course the huge differences that are presently becoming more and more intense as far as the Hindu majority and the different minorities in India is concerned. Of course, that is all being propagated by the current government of the BJP, and it is giving rise to a lot of tensions, a lot of brutalities, and a lot of killings. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. And in our second segment in Newsroom, we're going to talk about Afghanistan. Carnage happens for a second time in this week, in which over 40 people have been killed and scores others injured, of course, after a couple of suicide bombers entered and detonated their explosive vests in the largest mosque of a minority of that country. This is the second attack, and it has been claimed by the IS Khorasan. More in the following report.
The precipitation of violence in Taliban-ruled Afghanistan illustrates reignition of flames of extremism, posing militancy challenges ahead for regional and international players. The war-ravaged country thus cannot be viewed from the prism of short-term goals of power transition, as Hydra-headed scourge of terrorism emanating in form of ISK requires long-term engagement in the country. The bloody carnage for the second time in a week on a mosque in Kunduz city marks appalling escalation of violence aimed at exacerbating sectarian fault lines of the country. The militant Islamic State Khorasan is claiming responsibility of all ensuing bloody episodes as terror outfit vehemently challenges Taliban rule. Insurgent groups and proxy militias sponsored by rogue states to destabilize Pakistan and the region are taking advantage of power vacuum in Afghanistan as international community exhibited callous disregard for the volatile situation of the country. The deteriorating security calculus of Afghanistan underscores resurgence of virulent ideologies which find the beleaguered country conducive for its terror operations. The reinvigoration ISK chapter might translate into unbridled sectarian violence in the neighboring countries as their operations are geared to inculcate fresh impetus in sectarian outfits. In order to prevent Afghanistan from being used as a safe haven for terrorist and extremist groups with a global reach, it's imperative to engage with the interim Taliban set up to jointly combat insurgent tendencies. The participants of extended Troika talks in Moscow this week must try to work out a common position on the changing situation in Afghanistan to circumvent terror threats as ISK presents a clear and present danger to stability in Afghanistan and security in the broader region and beyond.
Now, of course, as we've said that 40 people have died in this heinous incident that has happened in a mosque and in which suicide bombers took part in. This is the second time. The first time also exactly a week ago, 55 people were killed in a suicide bombing as well. Both of these bombings have been attributed to and claimed by the IS Khorasan. We've been joined by Lieutenant General Naeem Khalid Lodhi sahab, who's a defense analyst. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Sir, is IS Khorasan or Daesh becoming the silent opposition or the not so silent opposition to the Taliban? And if that is the case, why is the Taliban not handling it swiftly?
Thank you very much. The first thing to note is that Afghanistan has gone through a huge transition. And I don't have to explain that what transition they have undergone. And we also know that those who have been deposed from, I should say, Afghanistan, they are all enemies. It is not only Daesh, it is not only ISIK, and led by United States of America, and very ably being assisted by India and other allies. They would never like to see this present regime to succeed. They will do everything to uproot it. They will do everything to make sure that Afghanistan remains in turmoil. This is a fact. If somebody wants to contest this argument, I'm always ready to for that. Secondly, Pakistan, we all know, is a very well-established country with a lot of regular forces. How much time have we taken to really clear our land from menaces like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and such like things? So asking Taliban or expecting Taliban, the question which we have asked that why they have not been able to do it, my brother, they will do it. They are good in that. Give them time. Do you think 8 weeks is a good time for them to clear their land of all such menaces? No. It is going to take time. It will take 6 months to 1 year at least. And otherwise, we also know that they are not being helped to stabilize their country economically, even politically. So many questions are being asked, so many conditions are being laid. So they are under duress. They are under a lot of stress. In spite of that, I think as far as law and order is concerned, general law and order in the country is much better than as it was during the earlier regimes. So we have to see things in comparison. One, we have to see the actual events that have taken place. We have to very clearly segregate the enemies, the foes and the friends. And we also must remember, and this was said by Karzai, and I am not making it from my own side, that ISIK and Daesh have been plonked by United States of America and their friends to create trouble in Afghanistan, and this trouble is going to stay for some time.
All right. Now, sir, you've talked in detail about the current issue and that, of course, eventually within 6 months or 1 year, the Afghan Taliban government is going to handle the situation because there are other issues that are also plaguing the current Afghan government. Don't you feel that the friends of Afghanistan, countries that want to develop strong relations with Afghanistan, that are in the neighborhood of Afghanistan, could also help the Afghan Taliban in thwarting such elements?
I think it can be done, but for that, I think some recognition of this regime is required, which is going to take some time. It seems, I thought it should have been happened by now, but now that we are having a conference in Moscow, and even Iran has now called another meeting. So I am quite confident that in the coming weeks, not months, there will be recognition of this regime, and only then such things can be discussed of mutual assistance. Otherwise humanitarian assistance is otherwise going on. But this sort of government-to-government, cooperation and coordination, because the entire world says that Daesh and ISIK is their enemy. America says that, India says that, we say it, Iran says it, everybody. So your suggestion is very apt, and I think quite workable, that the countries around Afghanistan, they should lend a helping hand in whatever way they could to fight this menace in a combined manner, because it poses threat to all of us.
All right. Now, speaking of threat, let's come to the effect of that threat of in Afghanistan, whether it be the TTP or the ISISK. in Pakistan? Do you feel there's going to be a trickling effect until such time that the Afghan Taliban are going to contain this element? That will take some time because there are other issues, as we've pointed out. Do you feel Pakistan is going to be directly or indirectly affected by it? We've seen also the IS leading to disastrous situations in Pakistan in just this year when the 11 Hazara coal miners were slaughtered. This was claimed by the IS as well. So do you feel that this could kind of also affect Pakistan?
Definitely, because this region is connected in a way that it is very difficult to, segregate things this side or that side of our international border. Especially once our Afghan brothers, they insist that the coming and going of people should be made very easy. We are also of the same opinion, but we are demanding that at least some basic documentation should be there, so that we should know that who's coming and who's going. Because and also that we have even today more than 3 million, 3.5 million refugees in our country. Those also keep on going and coming. So they bring along at times with them elements which are not. So whatever you have said, I agree with you that till this menace is cleaned from both the sides, whatever is happening in Pakistan, that is also the remnants of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Whatever is happening there, there's a resurgence of ISIK and Daesh combined, and these are the leftover elements of those who wanted them to create trouble. So it is going to take time, and these two are connected, as you have indicated.
All right, but until that time, what needs to be done, in your point of view, as somebody who understands the region, who understands Afghanistan as well, much better than many others, what needs to be done? Because until these 6 months or a year, till such time that they are completely able to handle the situation, what is the responsibility of the Afghan government?
I think the basic responsibility is to provide protection to their people, to provide security to their people. Otherwise, they will lose, their popularity within the masses. So for that, they will have to upgrade their efforts to protect bazaars and mosques and other places, public places, and also the life of eminent people over there. That is a great responsibility, and for that they need help. I can understand that, because earlier it was a regular force against a guerrilla force. Afghan Taliban were the guerrilla force, and on the other side were regular. Regular forces are discernible, recognizable, easily targeted. But if on both sides you have guerrillas, which means that now the problem is that Afghan Taliban are recognizable, their vehicles are recognizable, they can be seen from a distance. But Daesh and ISIK is merged in the population. You can't really find out. So you have to take them out like a tweezer takes out a thorn or something. So this is a comparatively difficult job for Afghans, and they'll need some help also. So I think these one or two conferences which are happening, the meetings which are taking place, and if some recognition comes about, the things are likely to improve, because then the neighboring countries can really cooperate in whatever manner it is required.
Now, sir, the extended Troika, as you said in the very beginning, is also meeting this very week to discuss the latest developments in Afghanistan. So has the United Nations met on Afghanistan, has talked about it, and has also generated some funds. The United States also took out some funds as far as Afghanistan is concerned. Is all that enough? What more needs to be done by the United Nations, and what expectations are there from the extended Troika meeting that is happening this week?
I think for a very smooth communication, a two-way communication, the first thing is that the new interim government must be allowed to appoint their representatives at all international, forums, whether it is United Nations or it is their other embassies and all that. And for that, their recognition of their government is required. So I think that is a great impediment for a smooth flow of ideas, for a smooth flow of communication, even for a smooth flow of aid. Whatever aids have been pledged, these will only move properly if this recognition takes place. So this lack of recognition is a great impediment in the help that people have pledged, and also to really know what Afghan government is, what do they desire, and then other world representatives can also visit Afghanistan and see for themselves what is happening. So this big obstacle has to be crossed.
Sir, very recently the Afghan foreign minister, the current foreign minister of this Afghan government, of the Afghan Taliban, said that it wants good relations with the entire world. Now, if Afghanistan or the current governance in Afghanistan wants good relations, what is, in your point of view, this impediment, this pause in recognizing Afghanistan as a country by the world, by the important countries that matter, so that, as you yourself said, aid could flow in through the proper channels and people could live a life a bit in a better manner than they are currently?
True. The main impediment or the main stumbling block, in my opinion, is the embarrassment which a superpower has faced when they were leaving Afghanistan, and also their allies. So they are, whatever they say, irrespective of whatever, even the aid that America has pledged, that they said is for the Afghan people, including those living all over the world, and it will be dispersed through NGOs. So you can read in between the lines that where all this aid will go. So don't go on what they talk. Try to understand what they walk. So they are the ones who are not only hell-bent not to recognize this present regime, they are also pressurizing others under their influence not to do so. So I think I've answered your question.
All right. But then, of course, in this case, if this impediment continues, if this non-recognition of the current Afghan government continues for a longer period of time, doesn't it put Afghanistan in a very, very sad or a very despicable situation, especially vis-a-vis the humanitarian crisis that is engulfing the country?
I think the other group of countries which you are talking, and I am also talking about, the peace seekers, those who have interest in this region, those who have stakes in the peace in Afghanistan, they will not wait for very long. They have waited enough, and that is why I was saying that, in my opinion, it is a matter of few weeks that some recognition will take place. Of course, initially it will be a handful of countries, followed by other phases, and of course the last would be the ones who don't want them to recognize at all. So in my opinion, it is going to start soon, because if it doesn't happen, then all those countries, about a dozen of them, those who really want, those who are affected by the Afghan situation very profoundly, and those who don't want, any turmoil, they want peace. They cannot wait for very long, and I expect that this recognition process will start in near future.
All right, and also, sir, Pakistan's role has been extremely important as far as Afghanistan is concerned, whether it be bringing the Afghan Taliban, the Afghan government at that time together, or now even pledging support and helping those, all the foreigners that went to their respective countries from Afghanistan. Pakistan was there to help them as well. And Pakistan still, asks for an Afghan solution of the current crisis that it is engulfed in. We have talked about this on the different available fora, whether it be our Prime Minister or our Foreign Minister. Do you feel that these pledges by Pakistan have fallen on the right ears, or have they fallen on deaf ears?
It all depends whose ears we are talking about. I told you that there's a group of countries, they will never listen to anything which goes in favor of this Afghan setup. So leaving them aside, I think it is working, because earlier also whatever Pakistan was saying, that came out to be true, that ultimately the talks will resolve the issue. And now again Pakistan is saying that if you really want them to deliver, we need to help them, so that to enable them to deliver. And I think this will catch attraction, and you will see that very soon many countries will respond to it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Retired Naeem Khalid Lodhi, Sub Defense Analyst, to have joined us, to have talked to us about the latest situation in Afghanistan vis-a-vis the incidents, the heinous terrorist incidents that have happened in the mosques. And of course, this is being created, the situation is being deliberately created so as to create further disharmony within Afghanistan. Let's see how the extended Troika also meets together later this week and what they decide to do. And let's see also what the United Nations, the United States and the other important countries in the world also decide to to do vis-a-vis the current Afghan government. Only time will tell. Let's go to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that is about tomorrow, the 12th of Rabiul Awwal, when Eid Miladun Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to be celebrated. A lot of events are happening across Pakistan to, of course, talk about the life of our last Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and more in the following report.
Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last prophet in Islam, known as the seal of the prophets, and Muslim Ummah immensely revere Allah's final messenger. 12th Rabiul Awwal marks the birth of charismatic last prophet of Islam, and the blessed day is celebrated with great religious zeal and fervor across the Muslim world. A nationwide public holiday is observed on the 12th of Rabiul Awwal, and Muslims worldwide hold Milad and Sirat al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam conferences to cherish the guiding principles exemplified by the life of the great prophet. The underlying rationale to observe this day is to portray true image of Islamic civilization, as emblematic teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam form the edifice of Muslim world. The government of Pakistan is set to observe this holy day in an unprecedented manner, and President Asif promulgated an ordinance for the establishment of the Rahmatul Lil Alameen Authority to ensure the implementation of the teachings of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the society. Prime Minister Imran Khan directed the Ministry of Religious Affairs to celebrate Jasht-e-Eid Miladun Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam across the country, and especially mobilize the youth to play their active role in this regard. In a world crippled by an array of challenges, the various aspects of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life serve as guiding principles to promote peace, harmony, and love across the globe. Eulogizing the perpetual principles preached by Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this auspicious day will pave way for creating and promoting the cause of peace and tranquility across the globe.
And of course, tomorrow is going to be a festive day, a beautiful day. Of course, a lot of events will be happening across the country, and all this initiated by the current government. Let's go to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns an academy by the name of Noon Academy that has gained immense popularity and success within just 1 year of its opening up. This is an online academy that teaches students of different grades. But what is the best aspect about it is all of it is free. It began with Saudi Arabia, and now they are currently located in London. Nevertheless, this EdTech capability and this, of course, organization, the Noon Academy, has grown far and beyond, with around 18 million students across the world that are taking different classes of different subjects through the internet, and all of these are available through different applications that you can download either on your Android phones or your Apple phones through an iOS application, or even go to the internet and of course download it and go through the different classes. These classes happen in real time, and of course the different teachers are available for the different subjects. All you need to do is select the subjects that you want and then go through with it. And a lot of success has been seen also with those students who have taken these online classes on different subjects in different classes. So of course this is an era of digital communication, of digital technology, and the Noon Academy is just one of the many success stories that we can now see. Also in Pakistan, around 1.5 million students are currently enrolled with the Noon Academy. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to our last segment, and the last segment concerns Iran. And we know that there was a JCPOA, a P5+1 deal that was signed between Iran and the 5 important countries of the world. But now there are signs, because Joe Biden's government had already said when they were campaigning for their election that they will restart the nuclear deal, and signs of those are already coming forward, as apparently there are going to be talks between Iran and the P4+1, which means the 4 European countries that are present. Of course, the 4 permanent: Britain, China, France and Russia, along with Germany, are going to talk to Iran as far as these nuclear talks are concerned, to revive some form of the JCPOA. This is important for Iran as well. This is important for the entire world as well, to come to some kind of an understanding as far as this nuclear deal is concerned, whether in its actual form or maybe if Iran agrees in a modified form, to move forward and of course also create a kind of stabilized situation in Iran that has undergone a lot of sanctions because of the temporary scrapping of the JCPOA that was done in the Trump era. Let's see what happens by the end of the week, or inshallah by next week we'll know more details about that. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories and segments that concern us, Pakistan, and of course our society. Until then, as I always say at the end of the show, get yourselves vaccinated for COVID-19. If you haven't, or even if you have, please continue following the standard operating procedures. And also dengue is in the air. We are getting a lot of cases in Islamabad, in Lahore, in other cities as well. So be very vigilant for that as well. Carry some kind of a spray like Mospel, or of course be aware when you see puddles of water outside your apartment or such or other things. We need to be extremely vigilant for these two diseases because the weather is such that they will be prevalent in the days to come. With that, we come to an end. Allah Hafiz.